Implementing DevOps is like starting a healthy habit. You know it's good for you, everyone loves it. But you don't know where to start and how soon the result will be visible. Hi, my name is Ihor Pavlenko. I am a quality assurance competence leader at Altexsoft. Welcome to the next installment of my DevOps video series. In today's video, we'll explore the steps to DevOps implementation and whether there is such a role as a DevOps engineer. More specifically, I'll talk about the form of implementation, whether you need a DevOps team or just one DevOps engineer to control the whole process. If you haven't done so already, I invite you to watch my previous videos explaining the DevOps practice in detail. But for now, let's begin. There is an important thing to remember when starting with DevOps. DevOps is not just a role within a team, nor is it a tool to achieve some deployment frequency. First and foremost, DevOps is a culture. It is the actual way you and your team approach working together, testing, deploying, and monitoring software. With that mindset in place, different tools and practices come along. Yet, many companies get this wrong by treating DevOps as a responsibility of a single person, a DevOps engineer. But you obviously need to start somewhere, and hiring somebody who knows DevOps inside out seems like a good idea. So that's a bit controversial. Let's figure out if a single DevOps engineer can make your whole company DevOps. First of all, what is DevOps engineer? You can think of it as a tech lead role, specializing in DevOps methodology and proficient in tools like Chef, Puppet, Ansible, Selenium, Kubernetes, and so on. A DevOps engineer is either a software engineer that has a solid understanding of system administration work, or an IT operations person experienced in software development. In the role of DevOps lead, this person can operate among the devs and ops teams and have a number of responsibilities. Let's look closer at them. A DevOps engineer will be in charge of introducing DevOps principles to the team. Think of principles like shared responsibilities between the devs and ops, automation of the manual processes, introduction of practices like continuous integration and delivery. While acting as a tech lead, a DevOps engineer is still in charge of their engineering or operational duties. Then, DevOps engineers will also make decisions on which DevOps tools are required for the team to work. The DevOps tools market is pretty rich at the moment, but some tools may better fit the large organizations, while the others may not. The next point is also closely related to the DevOps tools. The main idea behind DevOps tools is creating a continuous integration and continuous deployment pipeline. The pipeline includes tools for test and deployment automation, code integration, monitoring dashboards, and feedback gathering instruments. Together, they form a pipeline that makes DevOps processes possible. Other team members should also be trained to use these tools and to understand the logic of a pipeline, which is also DevOps engineer's duty. The final point is success metrics measurement. DevOps involves numerous processes, and each of these can be measured with specific metrics. One of the most common, for example, is deployment frequency, which is often used as an overall DevOps success metric. Okay, so that's the DevOps engineer role in a nutshell. Now here is another question. Can a single engineer give you the benefits of DevOps? The answer is no. DevOps, as a practice, aims at learning the principles of collaborative work between multiple members of your production team. If you only have a single person, the idea of shared responsibilities simply doesn't work. So, a single DevOps engineer in your team can't grant your company all the DevOps benefits. Instead, you should think of at least a single product team following DevOps principles as your bare minimum. A DevOps team is basically a team of testers, developers, and administrators experienced in DevOps practices. And responsibilities are the same for the DevOps team as they are for a single engineer. What's the difference then? A single DevOps engineer can establish the basis for the practice by choosing tools and explaining the principles of work. However, the actual implementation of these principles can only be done within a team of DevOps practitioners. As you might have learned from my previous videos, DevOps is all about breaking the silos in communication between development and operations. And the final goal is to make your software releases more reliable and frequent. In turn, the team should learn to share the information and responsibilities at each stage of the software development. So, what's the core idea? Hiring a DevOps engineer as the main action driver is always good. But this person should operate within a team of other DevOps professionals, not instead of. Okay, we've figured out the importance of having a DevOps team. What are your next steps to DevOps implementation? Migrating your whole company to a full DevOps cycle instantly isn't possible. That's why a good idea is to start on a small scale. And that's why we need a dedicated DevOps driver. At the beginning, your team won't be familiar with DevOps principles. The task of a DevOps lead in this case is to form a vision behind DevOps implementation and control its performance over time. For example, you can form a team of 5 or 8 engineers, testers, and developers and introduce them to the new methodology. The idea is to start small and implement DevOps in a more controllable environment. This will give you and your DevOps unit more visibility on which part of a process causes problems. As your developers and operations staff understand the principles of shared responsibilities better and get used to new tools, you'll be able to scale the same process across the rest of the team members. To evaluate your team's progress through DevOps implementation, you should articulate some success metrics from the start. DevOps won't bring you instant results, so it's vital to understand how you are moving throughout the process and what the benefits are at each stage. What metrics and KPIs can we use to evaluate the efficiency of DevOps implementation? Think of deployment frequency, lead time, mean time to change, defect detection percentage, defect volume, or the overall DevOps cycle time. In most cases, DevOps initiatives aim at measuring deployment frequency as their main success metric. So, following the logic of a small-scale team, you set an objective that may sound like increase deployment frequency by 40%. Once you reach this goal, you can scale up your DevOps team to involve more people in the process. Now, let's discuss a technology choice in a bit more detail, as the ecosystem of tools will also grow for DevOps needs. New practices will introduce your team to a different workflow, so you'll definitely need to review your existing technology ecosystem to complement DevOps practices. To enlist the most crucial ones, there are 5 aspects of DevOps that require a specific toolset. Server configuration for automating infrastructure management. Test automation to run tests along the whole pipeline. Continuous integration, continuous deployment that automate the testing and code deployment. Security that concerns software governance in the pipeline. And monitoring dashboards that allow us to receive feedback and track performance. The market offers a wide range of DevOps tools designed to be used either by developers or IT operations, and most of them already have an established list of integrations to scale the ecosystem in the future. For instance, one of the most popular automation servers, Jenkins, has a variety of plugins for integrating with other tools. It can be used in conjunction with Ansible for continuous deployment, Selenium or Cypress as a test automation tool, or Nagios as a monitoring dashboard. Furthermore, most of the tools in the DevOps market are open source, making it easier to resolve integration issues. The number of DevOps tools will grow as you progress with the practices. First, you'll need to master the practice with your team, and only after that, complement the progress by automating some part of the work. At some point, the ecosystem of tools should cover all the DevOps process steps, as it makes the most sense when there are no productivity bottlenecks. Okay, let's sum up the main points on the DevOps implementation. First, clearly understand who will drive the initiative and adopt DevOps in your company. Second, start the experiment on a small scale and get more visibility and control over the results. Third, define clear objectives for the team and scale once you get more comfortable with the DevOps technologies and practices. And fourth, create an ecosystem of tools to complement the practices. At this point, you probably have a feel for the basic practical steps on how to approach DevOps. But that's all the tech stuff. So in my next video, we'll discuss how to build a DevOps culture in your team and what its core principles are. That's it for today. Stay tuned and see you next time.